Hi everybody, this is Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy, and welcome to the 1940 Census Images and Indexing Update. Wow, what a day this has been. Let me just mention, if my staffers could mute themselves for a moment. Oh, Amy, you made it. I'm thrilled. I don't know how you got here, but thanks to the miracle of the internet, we're managing, huh? Okay, this census Indexing and Images Update webinar will be held every night this week, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. The content may overlap, but we're going to learn as we go, just like we did, was it only last summer when G+ went live? And we did this every night for an entire 7 days. I don't know. Anyway, joining us tonight on the panel are Amy Johnson-Crow. She is the Genealogical Content Manager from Archives.com. Also on the panel is Jim Erickson from Familysearch International. They've both had a very, very busy day. Very busy day. As have each of us, I'm sure. Also, we've got Steve Morse and Joel Weintraub from the Steve Morse Unified. Well, you find it at stevemorse.org. It's the Unified 1940 Census Enumeration District Finder. Let me tell you a little bit about these two gentlemen. You know of Steve because we've seen him at national and international genealogy conferences. He's the creator of the One Step website, for which he has received both the Lifetime Achievement Award and the Outstanding Contribution Award from the International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies. He's also received an Award of Merit from the National Genealogical Society, and they never before had an Excellence Award from the Association of Professional Genealogists, but they developed that award to honor Stephen. And he said he has 2 more awards that he can't pronounce from Polish genealogical societies. Now, we know Steve from the fact that he's a computer professional. He has a doctorate degree in electrical engineering, and he is best known as the architect for the 8086. That's a computer chip processor. It's the granddaddy of today's Pentium. And that started us having personal computers. So, Steve, this is all your fault. Anyway, now Joel Weintraub was born and raised in Manhattan. He's an emeritus biology professor at Cal State University Fullerton. Now this is interesting. He volunteered for 9 years at the National Archives Record Administration in Southern California, and he started transcribing streets within census districts in 2001 to help researchers search the 1930 U.S. Census. And he was joined by David Keyes and Stephen Morse. Joel has contributed data sets for many census searching utilities on the Morse One Step website and has been working on finder aids for the 1940 census since 2005. Without these gentlemen, I would not have found my Elsie Naylor and her brother, who died during World War II. In fact, he earned the Distinguished Service Cross. It's because of the Enumeration District Finder at stevemorse.org. Thanks, gentlemen. Okay, now I want to tell you about the 2 users in the group. Russ Worthington is my cousin. He is the author of the Worthington blog, and he made a post about an interesting neighbor and a partner. I think we're getting a lot of heavy breathing. Let me try to mute people, see if that helps. One of my poor, exhausted, tired people on the on the staff tab needs to move their mic just a tad farther away from their mouth. There. Yes, we were all hearing that. Also, I think you know Russ very well from the Family Tree Maker user blog, and he did a couple of really good posts, particularly this one. Let me pull this over if I can. Well, it's the 1940 census preparation where he was doing some work off of Steve Morse's and Joel Weintraub's website in order to find the street address as it would be an enumeration district for the 1940. And he and I and Jean Jay and a couple of others co-founded the Better JEDCOM project. We didn't know we were cousins until lately. Okay, so all right, now just a brief little overview. Do you remember the movies where, when we were in high school, called You Are There? I think some of us remember those. Well, these are my pictures to share with you from the National Archives official opening of the 1940 U.S. Federal Census. Okay, there we go. We entered by the special events door. Gosh, it was a gorgeous day. Mr. Murch helped me with my wheelchair. These are the big, tall brass doors. Are those brass or copper? I don't know. But inside the waiting room, this is the green room, which isn't a green room. It's the waiting to go on the stage room, the backstage room. And Megan Schmolnack pointed out it's a yellow-green room. And the gentleman that's standing immediately next to her, I believe, is the gentleman from archives.com. Amy, you can probably correct me on that.
Yes, that's John Spottiswoode.
Okay, good. And then up against the wall is our National Archivist, David Ferriero. And very informal get-together there. Just a few of us were there. And I zoomed in so that you could see, yes, I know it's a little fuzzy, but our National Archivist knows how to tweet and do text messaging. Kind of cool. And the gentleman next to him in the yellow tie is the director of the Bureau of Census. And here are some photos from Bernice Bennett. I'm not sure if she's in the room, but I really want to thank her for taking pictures of old Murch and Mr. Murch. These were taken before the actual event occurred. Here we are, Josh, there's Megan. Carol Petronic volunteers at the National Archives, and she's one of those that's helping to take apart a Civil War widow's pension file and get the papers in order, prepare them for microfilming. So it's kind of interesting to see some of our friends there. This is fuzzy, but those are the C-SPAN TV cameras. And this is one of Bernice's great pictures showing what the McGowan Theater looked like. How many of you got to watch the live broadcast? Maybe you can type and let me know. Okay, so LaDonna and Valerie, did they show the question and answer period as well? Okay, thank you. Because I didn't know if they would show the question and answer period. And at this point, you see Connie Potter starting in their shocking pink sweater to walk up to do her part of the presentation. This is my view from the microphone when I had to post a little comment about how everybody outside the United States could connect. Okay, we're having a little echo. I think we have a little kiddo talking. That's okay. That's perfectly okay. We do have lives. It's really cute. Okay, let me get back here. Oh, and also I just wanted to know that if you ever do go to the National Archives and visit it in person, you can go down to the basement level and have lunch in a very nice cafeteria with our founding fathers. It's very easy to get to the National Archives. It's at the Archives Navy Memorial Metro stop on Pennsylvania Avenue. All right. Now, just a couple more things, and then we're going to break out and start talking with some of our guest panelists. I know they had to catch their breath. This is probably the quietest they've been all day. One of the things I wanted to talk about first was the community census project to index the U.S. Census. Now, Jim, let me pull you on here. And are you there? Your mic's live.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you. Now, is there anybody in the chat room that has already started indexing that has a mic? Okay, Tessa, can I let your mic go live? Or Doug? Okay. All right, so give us a little bit of the background, as Jim, as far as what states are loaded in the queue at Family Search indexing, and how many indexers we have, how many more we need.
Okay. We have 5 states that are already live. The first state that we had live was Delaware, and then that was followed by Virginia, and then Kansas, and then Oregon and Colorado. And those are all live projects now for indexing through Family Search indexing. We have loaded up, and what will be coming online tomorrow will include Florida, and I'm drawing a blank now. We have 5 more states for tomorrow, and I promise they're good. And then following those 5, let's see, it's Minnesota. I'm just drawing a blank right now. I'll look that up. And then
you
after
probably
that
existed on what, like 2 hours sleep last night, kiddo?
Yeah, I've been up for a while, since midnight. But then after that, the next big state will be California, and we know that that'll have a lot of broad interest and broad appeal. And we're right now, today, we've had about 20,000 people in indexing. And in addition to that, we've had about 4,000 people who have been doing arbitration, which is the final step to make sure that the indexing has been accurate. So to get it done in the time frame that we're hoping for, we estimate that we need about 45,000 daily indexers. So that's something, and societies are participating, and they're being very helpful. And they're mainly interested in the arbitration step to make sure that the indexing is validated and verified as being accurate before the indices are published. So that's a quick overview.
Okay, well, let me ask a couple of other questions of you. Of course, a lot of people are asking me, you know, when's Connecticut going to be indexed? When's this? What about Illinois? And basically, I'm not waiting till you do Washington State. I'm starting as soon as I get done. Normally, I play Words with Friends with my daughters to relax at the end of the day, but I'm going to be indexing at the end of the day until this gets done. So explain about the A-B double-blind data entry thing.
Okay, so what's going to be happening? So I want to, there's been a lot of real criticism today leveled at NARA and other sites as they're trying to get the images up as quickly as possible. And I think, let me start there if you don't mind.
Sure.
The images that everybody has received are about 30 to 40 megabytes each. They're huge images.
Each page.
Each page.
Oh, and we know how big that is when we're trying to transfer a file, and it's 8 megabytes. That takes forever. Yes. And
so to process the images, everybody who's getting them online is having to do compression, resize the images. And NARA, I'm sure, has been trying to deliver those those images today at a very high quality, which you can imagine has a huge impact on bandwidth and things like that. So just like the NARA website, people noticed there was a huge demand on it today. Everybody, as they're getting these images and getting them up and ready for indexing, it's actually a pretty big process for the indexing that we're doing, we have to upload the images, then we have to move them into a system where they are then prepared and organized for indexing. And then we have to then turn on those projects in the indexing system that we have. So it's a pretty big process. But we expect for the indexing portion, for all of those images to be up within 2 weeks. So we haven't really published a schedule. We will be letting people know as different projects come online. But the reason for not publishing a schedule is we don't want people to wait. We want people to get in, get their feet wet, get comfortable with the indexing. So when the state comes that is the records that they are most interested in, they can jump in and do a quality job because they know the local names and place names, but that they're ready and already engaged when their state comes, and then we want them to stick around and look at it as a big project and not just getting their state done.
This is why I wanted to talk about the indexing first before I talk about actually looking at images. Because first of all, people were starting to say on Facebook, it doesn't look like we're going to be indexing tonight. And then like 36 seconds later, I noticed, because Facebook tells us things on our timelines and all that, I saw a post from Family Search Indexing that things were getting loaded and people are actually indexing. Now, Russ, let me make your live here. I did not want this concept of working together to get the indexing done to get lost at the end of this webinar. That's why I flip-flopped it. Although the images came out first at Ancestry and Family Search, even before the official opening of the images at NARA, it took until later this afternoon before the indexing queue was getting loaded. So Russ, your mic is live, dear. How was it when you did your Delaware page? How did it work?
It went very well because I had done the couple practices which was suggested all over the place, and I'm glad I did that. And when I was waiting for images to load, I did some other indexing earlier in the day until the 1940 images were ready. Can I ask Jim a question?
Sure.
Sure.
Jim, on the Delaware pages, is it important where it says same place or same house to use the exact word that was there? I was halfway done till I realized that that column sometimes said same place, sometimes said same house. I'm sure that other people may have seen that as well.
So the general rule when indexing is to type what you see. And those we know for the most part will mean the same thing. But in general, you just type what you see because it is a historical record. And same place and same house, same household, those should all appear, and we actually noticed that sometimes it wasn't, as valid entries.
Okay, now we're getting a lot of feedback, not feedback, I mean a lot of comments in the chat or in the messages. A lot of people had this question. Amy's made a comment here. You want to weigh in on this, Amy? Your mic is live, dear.
Yeah, same place. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, dear.
Okay, good. Same place is not the same thing as same house. Same house means literally that they were living in that exact same house in 1935. Same place means that they were living in the same town but in a different house.
Okay, Joel, your mic is live. You wanted to make a comment?
Yes, I would confirm that because I've looked at the instructions to the enumerators and a pretty good idea about all of the columns. And
thank you. I appreciate that. The fast field, when you started to type, and I missed the first couple of lines, and I didn't realize that the words were changed. And when I typed it, it fills out that screen or that cell, and I didn't catch it till I was done. So I thought I'd bring it up. Maybe other people saw the same thing. So it's very important that we type exactly what we see.
Right. Now, I have a question from Renate Sanders. You won't be able to see the chat because we have way too many people in the room, and I can hardly keep up with it. So when you ask a question, it goes directly to the staff, and I field the questions. Now, a couple more questions on this for those of you, your mics are live. What if the first couple of, where is this? It's actually scrolling so far. Just a second. If it says same house just in the first of the 3 columns and the next 2 are blank, do you mark those as blank? That's the question of Karen. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm trying to. So with the census, sometimes the instructions will say to mark it blank.
Yes.
And sometimes if it's a commonly blank field,
Yes.
you just skip it. And
Right.
I'd need to go and look at the actual indexing instructions, and it really depends on which column it is that you're talking about. So if it's talking about the places where they
it says
like
Karen is saying that it says required.
Then you would mark it Control B or mark it blank if it is blank.
What was the shortcut, Jim?
Control B.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the interesting things I notice, I've been working lately, I think it's World War I draft cards. Is that what's in the queue? Can't remember if it's 1 or 2.
That.
Yeah. And it tells you when you're on that field, if you look to the right side, it'll tell you what's required, and if it's blank, do this, or if it's not blank, you know, whatever. So there's pretty good advice there. All right, and Joel, let me turn your mic back on. You're our heavy breathing gentleman.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm just curious because whether you are recording whether they're on a farm or not, which is in that 1935, 1940. Is that one of the columns you're indexing?
No, we will not be indexing that column. That's not something that people would generally be searching on, and when they get the results, they'll be able to view that on the image.
Okay, well that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, Mary Phillips, yes, we are just talking about indexing right now, and then we'll move to the images in just a little bit. Okay, now I've got some questions for Steve Morse, but he's cutting out. He has a radio interview. He will be back with us after that interview, so I'll save that question. All right, okay. So anything else we need to know about indexing other than let's do it, not wait till our state comes up?
I really think that's about it. I will say that the images, again, because they are larger and of higher quality, it does take a little bit longer to download a batch.
Yes.
These images tend to be about twice as large as most of when compared with the images that we typically are indexing.
Mm-hmm.
So it does take a little bit longer to download a batch.
Right.
That's about it.
Okay, that's excellent. And here's how I look at it, folks. And this is just old Murch talking. You know, we kind of pay it forward. You know, I might be busy the day Washington State comes up and somebody indexes the pages where my Grandma Myrtle is and my Grandpa Sherrill, whom I never met. But I'm paying it forward already by doing the indexing. It's not that difficult to do. So Gloria's saying, how long does it typically take to download a batch? Russ, you did that most recently. What kind of a connection do you have, and how long did it take you?
I have a high-speed cable connection, and it only took a couple minutes. I was having trouble with one of the World War I records earlier in the day that I could never complete, but the download was very acceptable. I just got up and walked around, came back, and it was there, ready to go.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so that's a little bit different than what we're used to. Now, somebody else is asking, the URL that I have on the screen now where it says the1940census.com, that's where you go to stipulate which state you would like to index. And Jim, am I correct in understanding that Family Search will send us a note to say, okay, they're finally doing Washington State based on that input?
So we have been using that data primarily to see where the greatest interest has been, which helped us in the prioritization of the states. We are generally not going to be doing that because we think it'll create a lot of angst if somebody wakes up and realizes that their state was indexed during the night. So we don't want to create a lot of disappointment. So what we are doing is we are making sure that we're creating ongoing updates on Facebook and on Twitter. If you go to Facebook and go to 1940 U.S. Census on Facebook, we have a page there. And we're trying to keep people updated, but we're trying not to push too much communication because we think that we might create a little bit of disappointment in doing that.
Okay. All right. Now, a couple more questions from people who are attending. So let's see. People are saying, what you do then is go to familysearchindexing.org, and that's where you find the items in the queue. In fact, I'm showing a picture of the mobile app, but I'm going to go open up my Family Search Indexing because I think that will really help. And Amy, put your feet up and rest, dear. You've had a long day. This is what it looks like when you click to go into Family Search Indexing. It's a short download to get the program. This is a new account that I set up just to keep track of this work. Okay, and when you click up here in the left-hand corner to download a batch, let me change my preference to show all projects. There's U.S. Delaware, highest priority, 1940 census. So you can click to view a sample to decide if you want to do it. Oh, I had a question from somebody a little bit earlier, Jim, about what do you do when you have a page that there's absolutely nothing on it except the heading at the top. There's no enumerations on lines 1 through 40.
You would mark the images as well. If there's absolutely nothing, that's actually a good question. I think what you would probably do is mark the image as normal, put in the locality information, and just submit it. Or you could, I don't think in that case you would mark it as blank because it actually does contain information. That's going to be pretty rare, I would guess.
Looks like Delaware's doing okay because I went to download it and it said try again later, no indexing batches are available. Of course, in this I am not an arbitrator, I'm only an enumerator. Indexer. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sometimes that'll happen when we're moving very quickly through folders of different images.
Okay, so I've actually got quite a few people in the room who've never indexed, and they're a little bit concerned about it. So we're going to give it just another minute or two. Let's see. Let me show you what my pension cards look like instead of the actual census, if it's going to take that long to download. Let me just show you that it's pretty easy to do it. Down below in the bottom half on the left side is where I actually choose. Let me pick one let me go to one where I can actually see it. Here's one where we have an Army invalid. So I go here and I pick Army invalid, and then I type the name as I can read it. C-U-P-I-N-A-L-L. And his first name is George. Okay, and do you see how as I go back and forth to the different fields, the explanation or field help changes on the right bottom half of the screen. So that's how very interactive and helpful Family Search Indexing is. And you can download. Amy is saying, Amy, your mic's live, darling. It's okay. We're not stuck doing any state in particular, just what's in the queue. Yes, and Tess is pointing out that before I actually submit this, when I get to the bottom of this batch, this happens to be cards, it'll go back through and all these, it'll say it does a quality check. And that's my quality check. And then typist B does the same thing. They go through a quality check. And then an arbitrator, well, actually what happens in between, Jim? The computer compares, doesn't it?
It does. It compares every text string. And where there are differences, the arbitrator goes in and they can see actually what both people entered on everything. So they can do spot checking even when it agrees. But when it disagrees, they can choose which value is correct, or they can actually override both of them and type something new.
That happened to me when I was doing some indexing for the greater Seattle, Washington area, because I'm quite familiar with the Japanese names that are there. And you could tell that the people that had indexed it, one of the persons that had indexed it, was not at all familiar with Japanese surnames. And it was easier for me to pick out the handwriting because of my odd amount of expertise in that area. So that's basically what family search indexing looks like, and we'll let it go ahead and do that. Great. And Jim, what happens if I don't finish my batch?
So right now, because of the large volume of people who are helping, typically we give people about 7 days to complete a batch. And if they're not complete, we take it back, and anything that you've done up to that point is preserved. It is saved. And then it's passed along to the next person who can download the same batch and complete the batch. Right now, for instance, with Delaware, we're in such a hurry to get it done, not to sacrifice quality, but to give everybody a chance to participate. We've set that time period from 7 days to 1 day. So
okay.
if people aren't getting it done, we want other people who are interested to have the opportunity to index that batch. Now that right now is only set up on Delaware specifically, because it's a very small state, and we want to get it through the process of getting published and get that index available to see how the whole system works all the way through.
Okay, so
typically you have 7 days.
All right, so is a batch in the 1940 census 1 page?
That's correct.
Okay, so that could be 40 lines at the most, and you're not indexing every single field. So Frank, there's your answer. It's just 1 page. That's 1 batch.
Yes.
And Tanya's saying Delaware's not even on the list anymore, so we might be making progress. Tessa said it took her 40 minutes to do the first page. And interestingly, Gloria Russell, who was watching me when I did my transcription of that surname, she was questioning if it was a C or an E. Well, I happen to know it's a C because I'm in the middle of a whole bunch of C's, and I'm accustomed to some of the handwriting. And that's one of the benefits of continuing to do indexing, is you become aware of the handwriting by a particular individual. Okay, so let me ask you this, Jim. Man, we're getting a million questions, and we need to switch over in a second. Can you do this kind of indexing on the mobile app like I'm showing here on the screen?
So the mobile app, no, the 1940 census isn't set up for the mobile app. We have other projects that are currently going through the mobile app.
Okay.
And we're doing a lot of testing with the mobile app, but that's not for the 1940 census.
Okay, well, you could just tell the guys in the mobile app department on my iPad. It's wonderful. I'm surprised how fast the image loads when I have to take that name and put it in context of the full page. So they're doing a good job. Okay, very good. All righty. So this is where you go to sign up to do it at the indexing. If you've never done indexing before with Family Search indexing, you can go here and specify your state. It helps them prioritize. Or you can also download the Family Search indexing software here, or go to familysearchindexing.org. Okay.
We've actually, just one quick clarification, we've just changed the page to just take you directly to indexing since the projects are now live. So we don't have the sign-up form here. We just have a link that takes you over to get started with indexing. So
well, you know, when I did this screenshot was prior to today.
36 days ago.
Yeah, apparently. That's for sure. Hey, thanks, Jim. Now
Thank you very much.
I know you want to get going to be with your family and stuff, so maybe we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, I'll join you tomorrow and give you an update. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right, over and out. Wow. Okay, Steve Morse is back just in time because we're going to start talking about the National Archives 1940 census images. Now, a little bit of background. I was pretty excited to know that the images are going to be available free at the National Archives site. But both Ancestry and Family Search have been loading state by state gradually, and Jim gave us some background on that. Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about the arrangement between archives.com and archives.gov on this project?
Sure. The National Archives, which has archives.gov, they had sent out a request for proposal I believe it was last summer, looking for a partner to work with them to design the website, to host the images, to build the underlying database, all of that. Archives.com was the company that they selected to partner with to build the website and host it. So that's the relationship. But archives.com is also working with Family Search and with Bright Solid on the community project. So we're kind of pulling double duty here right now.
Well, it's wonderful. You had a rough day, though, admittedly.
Yes.
So tell us what happened. It was a very unusual day.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to back up all the way to the launch this morning.
Yes.
Yeah, all the way back to when everybody was, you were there in person and the rest of us were watching online, and the demo didn't go right with the archivist. I would just like to clarify that was a firewall issue. The site was actually running very, very well at that point.
Yes.
And it was a firewall issue just within the, and it was one of those things that you really can't test until you go live. And that was, they used to say, that's the danger of doing live television. Well, that's the danger of doing a live demo.
Well, and
on the internet. Yeah.
I know. Well, it was very interesting because during the Q&A, I stood up and said, they may not be, the archivists may not be getting through, but people in other countries were getting through. So we at least narrowed it down to other countries could. But when I went upstairs to actually try to pull up a 1940 census image and take a picture of Mr. Murch sitting at a computer in the National Archives, that's where the firewall issue was, within the National Archives. And that was not an issue of archives.com. But you did get a few hits. So tell us about that.
One or two people decided to go look for their ancestors today. The load that we had all prepared for, that we had actually tested at 4 times what was specified.
Yes.
It pulled up short. Combination of a lot of things with that many people. Part of the problem, and I don't want to say problem. Part of the challenge was that there were a lot. I think that there were a lot more members of the general public looking than anybody had anticipated. You can sort of gauge how many genealogists are interested, based on what other collections they've looked at, the popularity of various websites. So you can sort of gauge how popular something is going to be with the genealogical crowd. But I think part of what happened today was the number of just the general public. And when the news of this website was hitting the mainstream press, like NPR, like USA Today, like CNET, and some of the mainstream press, and they were hitting with that story either late Friday or over the weekend, it's hard to change an architecture that quickly. And and we admit it didn't work the way we had planned. But I will say,
let me just. I don't want you to be defensive.
It does. Well, no, and I'm not being defensive because I mean we take full responsibility.
Yeah,
we really do. And that was what we said in our blog post that we had earlier this evening.
The tsunami blog post.
Yeah, yes. we expected a flood and got a tsunami.
Let me just say this. First of all, I totally get what you're talking about. I mean, somebody asked me, I think it was Thomas McKenty asked me on Friday night, what happened 10 years ago, what happened 20 years ago when the census came out? What was on film? And the most we could do was rush to our regional archives branch, and we didn't have social networking. 20 years ago, I couldn't send email to Dick Eastman on CompuServe. You could only send to your local ISP, which we didn't even call them ISPs. We didn't have the internet per se.
Exactly.
10 years ago, we had the internet, and most of what was up, for instance, at Ancestry, was indexes and message boards at Roots Web. We didn't have social networking. We didn't have Who Do You Think You Are. We didn't have Finding Your Roots. We hadn't had the Ancestors program. Well, yeah, I guess we had Ancestors on the PBS. But there is a big hype in the general public to have interest in family history.
Right.
And that's contributed.
Yeah, and we're in the situation where I think I can't remember her name, and I do apologize for that, but the spokeswoman for the National Archives, who's just been wonderful as we've been working through these problems today, working with us to help identify some places. She said that the site is a victim of its own success. We all did such a great job of telling everybody about it, and
we're thinking that's Rebecca.
We're
thinking that's Rebecca Warlow, because she's their IT person. Yeah. Whereas Connie Potter is the front end, the education side of it. Yeah.
It wasn't Connie, but she was interviewed on NPR this afternoon, and it's up on the NPR website now, that interview that she did. But things are improving on the site. We're seeing a lot more people who are being able to download images. They're being able to download entire enumeration districts at once. That was something that was pretty spotty earlier in the day. We're looking at the site being, I don't want to say normal. I will say we're looking at tomorrow morning being a lot different than today was.
Well,
we'll put it that way.
It's A-okay. When Familysearchorg went live, it was Compact that had to come rescue them. And I'd really like to have Steve come online in this discussion here. I think Steve Morse is back. Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Just move a little closer to your mic, darling. Thank you. I don't mean to be fresh. But anyway, can between the two of you, can you discuss what is the cloud and the Amazon fast servers, and that it isn't like it's a finite set of servers like it was for Family Search, and Compaq had to come in and physically give them more servers. talk about how that is shared.
I'm the one person who asked that. I don't know that answer.
Okay, I can't hear Steve at all.
Okay, I said that's not my realm. I don't know the answer to
It's
that.
not your realm. Okay.
Okay.
I heard.
I'll try to take
Okay.
that and explain it.
Okay.
The NARA website, the 1940census.archives.gov, is on the Amazon Web Service, and what that allows us to do is to spin up as the load on any given server reaches a certain point, it will trigger more servers to come online.
Right.
Okay. Which, you know, you think, wow, you know, that's great. That means that no site will ever go down. Well, you know, it doesn't always go according to plan, because what happens is, let's say that you start, and this is just completely hypothetical. Let's say that you start with 10 servers, and all of a sudden, every single one of them maxes out. Okay, so you spin up X number more servers. Well, Amazon still has to have some idea of what your expected load is. That way they can plan their servers and what servers they're going to make available in case you need them. Well, you know, you see where I'm going with this. If the load becomes so much more than you anticipated, then you have Amazon not having enough servers, and Amazon has been great working with us this afternoon and this evening to be able to scale faster, to scale larger. Amazon's been great to work with through this.
Awesome. Awesome. I've got a number of folks who are asking me, how do I record this webinar? Dorothea, the folks at Roots Magic are recording this. They have to crunch it through a little program, and then they'll be putting it up on their website probably tomorrow, certainly before our webinar tomorrow night. And I will also cross-post that link on my Dear Myrtle blog, so you'll be able to catch this on the rerun. Man. Okay, and yeah, a couple of people had that question. All right, and then there's the breathing issue. Let me try to work through some of these questions. So, you gave us a very good clue of what to do when we're looking at the website, and you get the hit list with the enumeration districts, which I'm showing on the top part of this screen, and it was to click on that little swirling circle that we've watched a couple of times today. So tell us a little bit about the difference between viewing it in Quick View versus downloading.
Viewing it in Quick View will open up a viewer right there in that results page. It would actually, that second line that you have there, that second line where it says Washington, King County, Seattle, ED 41, it would actually move that part down, and you would see the first page of that enumeration district census right there. Viewing full screen, if you clicked on that, it would open up the viewer in a whole, it's called a light box, and it would bring up the viewer sort of in front of that page, and you would see the image a lot larger. Download, where you have circled download, what that'll do is it'll actually take that image and it'll download it to your computer. And,
okay, now,
and right
does
now
it download
is that
all 24 pages or 22 pages?
No.
Okay.
No, it just downloads just that first page. That's why it's really better if you can go into the view full screen, because when that full screen viewer comes up, then you can page from image to image and download each of those individually.
Okay.
Otherwise, all you're going to get is the first one.
Right, because like in my example, although I did the search not on this site, I did it at Ancestry, naturally the family I'm looking for is like on page 22 of 28. So it wouldn't have helped me to download the first page of it. So now Jenny is saying she tried to download all images for an enumeration district, but she got an empty zip file on several of those. So
that was happening. That was happening earlier today, but that seems to be resolved now.
Okay.
I'm seeing a lot more people when they are downloading an entire enumeration district that they are getting the full zip file. If you're having trouble, if it is happening that you're still having trouble downloading the entire enumeration district, like I said, when you pull up that full view,
yes,
full on view
that middle option,
page, that middle option, right? And then you can go through and download each page then individually.
Okay. All right. But that takes more time on the server, but that's a realistic thing because we don't know which of those 22 pages, in this case for my Grandma Myrtle, she's on. We only know that she's in one of these two enumeration districts based on her not having moved, etc. Okay. Randy Seaver. Randy, is your mic, let me see if I can find you on the list here. Is your mic live? Oh, he doesn't have a mic. He says, I tried it every way and have had absolutely no luck seeing an image, let alone downloading an enumeration district. Okay, so Randy, the breakthrough you made was on Family Search or on Ancestry.com. He doesn't have a mic, so I'm looking for his comments here. His was at Ancestry. That's where mine was today. Angela Walton-Raji wants to know, when you get to the thumbnail view, what does that mean? Does it mean you're getting a little closer?
Actually, it does. Because chances are, if you have the thumbnail, that your chances are better that the full image has been what we call pre-tiled.
Okay.
And when you've probably noticed, if you've gone into that full screen, that you'll see the little, lots of little places where it'll say loading. And what it's done, and let me go over to my browser so I can just, so you might see, that's all right. You might see like 2 lines with 5 each saying loading. Each one of those is actually a separate small image. So rather than bringing down one great big huge image, it's bringing down several smaller ones. And that's tiling. Right? Okay. So if you're getting that thumbnail, chances are better that that image has been pre-tiled and has been cached in the server, so that chances are it will come up faster for you.
Okay.
So getting a thumbnail right now is
a step farther.
It is a step farther, yes.
Okay. So a couple of people are saying they never got to the tiled part.
Right.
Preparing images is what they got. All right.
Right.
And
that is something that we know about, and that's the last piece of this puzzle, is to get all of the images so that they are ready to be tiled. So
okay,
that
well,
when you get that, they'll all come up.
Angela Walton-Raji and I are going to take up crocheting occasionally while we're waiting for it. I mean, no, we could be indexing while we're waiting. That's good. Sure. Good use of our resources. So does it make any difference at all if we have only that one web browser open? Does one browser work better than another on your website?
No. No.
Okay.
And that's something that we tried very hard when we were designing the site, to make sure that it worked across all of the major browsers. You know, I'm on a Mac and I'm using both Chrome and Firefox.
Okay.
So we've tested on PCs, we've tested on Macs, we've tested on Internet Explorer, all the various flavors of that. You know, we've looked at Chrome, we've looked at Firefox, looked at Safari. The only thing that you do need to have on your computer is Flash, and that's only if you don't have Flash. So if you're looking at the site, say on your iPad, you're not going to be able to zoom in, and you're not going to be able to adjust the brightness or anything like that. But you'll still be able to download.
Okay. All right.
But so the only thing you need, the only thing that's really specific that you actually need is to have flash, and that's to be able to manipulate the image once it comes up in the viewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we're making a little progress. I think that you guys have done an incredible job. I mean, I don't think anybody could have anticipated 22.5 million hits in the first 4 hours.
Yeah, it was 22.5 million hits in the first, between 9 and about 12:30. Then between 9 this morning and 5 this evening, it was 37 million. So it really didn't let up any this afternoon.
Oh my gosh, that's for sure. Yeah. So we're going to hang with you just like we did hang in with you with Familysearch.org when they first went live. We all learned to sign on at 3 in the morning and stuff like that until all the little ducks got in a row. And
we really do think.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, okay. I was just I kept interrupting you.
That's all right. I was just going to say that I think that all the signs right now are pointing to tomorrow being a much better experience than it was today, and we really do appreciate everyone's patience. Mm-hmm. Again, we take full responsibility for this. It wasn't the experience that we hoped to give to anybody, and
it's okay.
We're looking at tomorrow being a much better day.
All right. Now, I've had 2 people say to me, this firewall stuff is a bit confusing. And a firewall, who wants to jump in and describe what a firewall is of my panelists? Okay. It's going to be bad if I have to say what a firewall is. Okay.
I'll take a stab at it, but I'm really bad at describing it.
Okay.
A firewall basically acts like a firewall does in a building. A firewall in a building is designed to keep a fire from going from one room to the next, or from one section of the building to the next. Mm-hmm. Well, a firewall on a network basically keeps some traffic from going through. Mm-hmm. And depending on how you have that firewall set up, it will let some sites in and not others. And apparently the firewall at NARA was not liking their own website.
Right. So Linda, let me say this to Linda, who's asking this question. I think it was Linda. It's going by, my screen's going by so fast. No. Renate is saying, how do you get around the firewall issue? It isn't your issue, Renate. Think of it like a school. A school puts up a firewall, an elementary school puts up a firewall so that anybody using that computer can't go to X-rated websites and stuff like that. It's kind of like it's blocking them from going to these places. Well, this is what happened this morning during the live official opening of the 1940 U.S. federal census. They tried to search for a specific image, and the firewall in the National Archives building, Archives 1, wouldn't let them access this subdomain of their own archives website. So it was a peculiar thing, something that they couldn't test on, and as soon as they discovered it, which was about an hour later, I started hearing rumblings from all the employees because people were trying to use the computers. In fact, I think Carol Petranik's the one that told me first. Anyway, they had to, that's something that's not like a switch that you can go turn on or off, but it does take a little bit of work to turn off the firewall or to adjust the firewall. You don't want to totally take away the firewall or your whole website could be compromised. Okay, so, and we've talked a little, yes?
Well, I was just going to clarify that the firewall that we're talking about, that affected just the computers within the NARA building.
Right.
The firewall issue didn't affect your computer or Russ's computer or Steve's computer.
Right.
It was just those within the four walls of the National Archives. It just happened that that's where they were doing the demo from the launch ceremony this morning.
Yeah, from the McGowan Theater, yes.
Right.
Okay, somebody asked me what are the goals of our or objectives of the webinar, Gary. When you logged in through my website or Roots Magic, there was a list of things we planned to talk about. We said this was going to be open mic and we would learn together, and we have learned a great deal. And Amy's been helping us with the what was happening at the National Archives website. All right, Amy, I'd like to talk. Why don't you rest for a bit, dear? You have done a marvelous job explaining all this. And Joel and Steve, I want to bring them on and show you what I found, and I'm going to cry about it. I have old Murch has a friend who's in an Alzheimer's unit over in Bradenton, Florida, and she's enumerated in the 1940 census. I knew where she was in 1930, and I knew that her family did not move from 101 Homer Street. But I did not know what the enumeration district would be in the 1940. Now a couple of somebodies have asked me, why is it a different enumeration district for the 1930 and the 1940? Because land is getting developed. It's sort of the same thing like how come we have more counties and even more states? So
well, there's another reason, too, that enumeration districts cannot cross political lines. And so after each federal census, when they do the reapportionment, they often change the dimensions of the wards and the precincts and everything else. And there are very special rules about how you put an enumeration district in. So in rural areas, often you get the same number, but certainly in urban areas, you probably will not.
Okay. So this is Providence, Rhode Island, where my friend lived, and so I found Rhode Island, picked the county of Providence, picked from the drop-down menu the city of Providence. I typed in house number 101. And this really works really much better on a computer than on my iPad, because you don't type in the street name. It's a very long drop-down list, and you guys worked hard on that to come up with this. Now, I didn't know a cross street or a back street. I've only been up there once, and I guess I could have looked for one on Google Maps or something like that, but I decided to see what this Unified 1940 Census ED Finder would do. Tessa's saying she did use the Google Map. That's cool. Anyway, so I came up. Did you have a comment? Was that Steve?
Yes. Do you see there's a CMAP button up there?
There is. I missed it, and I could have done it. All I have to do is read the screen. But I was trying to see what I could do without knowing that or going to a map or anything else. I thought I was pretty safe with the address. So what I did was then click, and it gave me those two enumerations districts, 6-175 and 6-176. And so I went to Ancestry.com because I heard that in descending order, the ease of loading was, or speed of loading was Ancestry.com 1940 census. Familysearch was pretty slow, and I couldn't get anywhere at archives.com for the reasons that we just discussed with our dear Amy. So I used the Ancestry.com website, and this is what I found. I had to click through it's sheet 11A of enumeration district 6-176, and you'll see that here on the side is the street name. And isn't this wonderful? Handwriting you can read, amazing. There's the house number there, and this is for the household of Robert Arthur Barks. That is my girlfriend's dad. And of course, they're at the bottom of the page. So we go to the next page, and we see them there. Elsie's the second person on the next page. Elsie served in the American Red Cross in England and France and Korea during World War II. Then during the Korean conflict, she was in Japan. And above her is Arthur E., her brother. All of the children were home at this point. I knew Gordon. I didn't know Lester. But Arthur E. was kind of an interesting person. Arthur Edwin Barks earned his mother a gold star. He was killed on December 22nd, 1943 on a flight back to England after a bombing mission over Bremen, Germany. His body was jettisoned into the North Sea to lighten the load of his crippled plane. He joined the Army Air Corps, graduated from navigation school in San Marcos, Texas, and he was sent to King's Lynn, Norfolk, England with his squadron. He was credited, he was a navigator on his plane, and though he was mortally wounded, he charted a course. It was very foggy and difficult to see, but he charted a course, and he's credited with saving 9 lives of his crew, and he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. So that was kind of cool. Now I wish I could share that with my Elsie girl. All right. So tell me a little bit more about what I should have done on the Unified 1940 Census Finder site. Steve and Joel, tell me what you went through to develop this.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, the way you should have done it, you started out correctly with the Rhode Island. You didn't have to put the county, that's optional. You just have more city streets to go through at that point. The house number is needed only for the CMAP function. Otherwise, you didn't even need the house number. But you put the house number and then the street. At this point, you get the 2 EDs.
Yes.
You press the CMAP button, and it'll show you where 101 Homer is.
So this one.
Mm-hmm.
So this map is where I should have been.
Right.
Okay.
Can you click on that now?
No, I'm not on your site. Let me pull it over just a second.
That's a capture, screen capture?
Yeah, it's a screen capture, but I have you right here.
Well, don't bother, but if you do that, you get the map to the cross street. And once you have the cross street, you can then enter additional streets and get down to a single ED.
Oh my gosh. That is perfect, and I should have done that. Oh, so I could just zoom in and get that.
The thing that I really liked about that is you get to the street view and actually see the house like you have it on the left-hand side of that screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's awesome. Boy,
Now,
I missed a pretty important step, didn't I, Joel?
Well, a lot of people stop right after they just enter the address street.
Yes,
And
like
that's
I
a
did.
mistake. Yes, that's
Yeah.
a mistake. Because normally we can get you down to a single enumeration district. There are situations where that will not happen. But for the most part, if you keep adding the streets on that physical block, either the 2 cross streets or, for want of a better name, we call it the back street, you could get down to usually a single enumeration district.
Okay, so I'm picking Cactus Street and Carr Street.
Now, it has to be on the same block. Okay, so add another street
Well,
then.
just a second here. Let me get to my map. All right, let me zoom in.
Zoom in. I mean, this is a nice view, but a map view would probably be better rather than a satellite.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cleaner.
So do you want Cactus Street and Carr Street? That's the back?
Now, let me make an important point here, a very important point.
Yes.
We understand that the archives.com use of our tool will only allow 2 streets right now, which is the Main Street and one other.
Like
If
Homer
that's the-
Street and Cactus.
Yes, but if
Perhaps.
that's the case, you want to probably not put in a parallel street, but one at right angles.
Okay, that would be Cactus then.
Right? Well, I don't think that really makes a difference. But don't confuse what Joel just said. That's on their site, but they have their
Right, that's what I'm saying.
about tool. On the
Right.
unified tool on site, there is no limitation. You can put as many streets as you want.
So put in Cactus.
Okay, so let me go back, and I
And
put
we
in
remember
Cactus.
call. Put in Cactus.
Okay,
And it's now, so that didn't change anything.
didn't change it yet. I still have the 2.
Okay, then put in call.
Which was it? C-A-R-R? Was that it?
I think
I
so.
can't remember. Yeah, Carr Street. Okay. And,
No, you're still going to have to put in the one more.
So they got-
oh, okay.
Okay.
And so the other street, do you want me to
It's
do
out of
Peyton?
sight.
Homer,
Move
I've
it to
got
the right.
Homer.
Peyton.
Peyton.
Broad. It's broad, isn't it?
Well, wait, it would be the other one at 90 degrees?
Yes, it's broad.
Yeah, but
Okay. Broad. Alrighty. Broad. Ah, it still has us on
yes. Well, that's
too. One of those
interesting.
peculiars.
Well, sometimes that happens by the geometry of the streets.
Use the pull-down menu, and you'll see what streets you have to choose from.
Yes.
see, the list hasn't gone down because it's still the same 2 EVs.
Yes.
That list
Well-
keeps reducing, by the way, to make it simple, but it's in context.
Yes, I totally get that. So I missed a very important part. I wonder how many other people miss it, and it's just me trying to rush through. See, what happened was, I don't know where I clicked, but these numbers showed up, and I'm like, okay, I can live with those 2 numbers. That narrows it down a lot.
I can get you even better than that. Where it says clicking on a 1940 EV number will display, check off 1940 EV descriptions.
Okay.
See down at the bottom?
Yes.
Click it.
You
No, click
All
it.
right.
click it.
You haven't
Whoop, whoop,
clicked it
whoop.
yet.
I'm sorry, I got to get on the real site. Sorry, I was on my...
Virtual reality.
I see. Okay. So now we're going to go to the 1940 ED description down here and click more details.
No,
And
not
now-
more detail. No. Well,
No?
okay, that worked, but that's not what, this easier way.
Okay.
Can you go back to
Yes. This one?
Okay.
This one?
you click the button that says, there are 3 radio buttons. Click the middle button.
Hit the middle.
Okay, hit the middle one. I can't hear him very well, Joel, so I appreciate
No, he's
you.
muted. He's muted. And then what do you want to do? Hit one of the EDs?
No, now you hit the EV. The instruction says click on a 1940 EV.
Only one of them. Only one of them.
Okay, I'll pick this one. Oh my gosh.
Well, you see the original definition.
Yes.
Now notice very carefully that this is a block definition. The
Yes.
National Archive summarized this. You won't see this on the ED definition. And the blocks are in the order, the streets are in the order of north, east, south, and west side of each block. So you can actually match your block against this to confirm which ED you want between these 2 if needed be.
And so I see,
Is Homer Broad Patent
Yeah.
Cactus?
yeah, I
that
think
it?
he was, I think it's this one on page 20, block 20. I
Broad
think
Homer
that was it.
Cactus. Is that the arrangement? And
think
so
so.
this gives you a confidence that the
Yes.
transcription that we did, because the volunteers went through this and picked up every single unique name of the street. That's our data set. It gives you confidence that indeed we did it right.
Yeah,
Well,
of
it's more than a
course you did it right.
This gives you the unique EV. Now you know it's 6-176.
Yeah, that's-
Go back,
Absolutely.
go back to the unified tool.
Okay. Now what would you have me do?
Now, with those 3 radio buttons, click the leftmost one, where it says
The
1946.
left one?
Right.
Okay.
Now click on 6176, and when the site is working properly, that gets you the images on the National Archives website.
We know where the image locations are. So if everything is working, it's not impossible to go directly from here into the images.
So like tomorrow, okay, I got to tell you two.
Wait, stop, Pat. At this point, to get loading, you see the download button?
Yeah.
Click on that. Click all, you want all images. Answer that stupid question.
Yes, okay.
But
But you can't read for the most part.
Yeah.
No.
But I'm a very good indexer, so I can read it. G-U-L-A-T-I, I think that's it.
Now click download. Even though you don't see it on the black area, you can still get the download.
Okay, so now we're getting,
And that,
yeah.
Now go do something else and come back in 5 minutes and you'll have it.
Yay! This is awesome. Apparently I got kicked out of the website. I didn't touch my mouse and I don't have any of those. I think I just got kicked out. That's okay. I know it's going to work eventually. Let me look at the other page. We're good. Nope. And let me check this one. Nope. It's not coming up. All right, but the concept is there, and I'm getting all kinds. Linda Woodward Geiger saying, "Yay! Thanks to Joel and Steve for this explanation."
Let me tell you where we stand on the databases.
Okay.
We have 1,180 urban areas done. We have 81% of the urban areas in 1940 covered. We have every city over 25,000 done. And that's due to 122 volunteers that we link to on the unified tool. It's on the bottom left. It's probably a little bit out of sight. I want to acknowledge those people right there. If you click on that, there are our people. And a lot of this stuff was done 5 and 6 years ago, and we're still having people working to add urban areas. So even though it says it's a large city ED finder, there are communities as low as 6,000 that we have data sets for.
Okay, now don't be confused. This is the unified tool. This includes the large cities, and it also includes the rural areas. That's why this is a unified tool. You can do this for both. Can you go back to the tool?
Yes, I'm back to the tool.
Go back to the top.
Yes.
When you enter the city, you get it from the list. If the city was not on the list and you chose other,
see the first, no, go up there. Go, no, click it. No, go back to other. Go back
Where
to
do you
other.
want me? Where do you want me
No,
to
go where that blue is. The blue highlighted. Go there.
Yes.
Click it.
click on the
Now see the box opens?
Now,
See the box
now
open
you
to the right?
specify your favorite city.
Yeah.
No, those are grayed out. Put down, now let me show you a gimmick. Put
Okay.
down orphanage. Put down orphanage. This is the only time we're going to let you actually do things. And put down get the 40 ED.
Oh my God.
Those two, remember this is an ED definition finder. It queries everything in the file. Doesn't have to be a street, though that's what, or a small community. So if it is a small community, they would show as well. Now, if you look at more details, go to more details, right below the arrow. No, you were right there. No, go back to, go to bottom right, go down, 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 up a little bit, up, to the right, to the right, to the right.
Oh, more
there.
details.
Let's see what it says.
Okay.
And it says that the Francis Orphanage is in one socket, and there's a Jewish orphanage in Providence. So it's querying the entire database.
Not just, Yeah,
not just city.
just a title, not just a city. It's looking for that character string anywhere.
In the definitions.
Oh my gosh. That
Now,
is incredible.
We don't emphasize that because that just adds a complexity to it. But it's for the webinar people. This is a special for you guys, just to be here.
And for 1995, no. Oh, gentlemen, this is
the main
awesome.
use of the other. The main use of the other is to do smaller rural areas. Put down the name of your rural area, you would find that as well.
Oh.
And just to add to that, the definitions. This is on a narrow film.
Yes.
You have to have 100 people in a rural area to show the name. If they're under 100 people, they won't show, and that's where the maps come in that the National Archive has, and that are on the new website on their OPER connections as well. So there's lots of strategies and lots of tools here if people will just relax and do a little bit of learning of them.
Like I should have learned right from the beginning. So now a couple of other questions. Somebody wanted to know, would that work for hospital, convent, prison?
Yes.
Anything that's in the definitions, and convents are there. And in fact, Roman Catholic institutions have less requirements to be shown as institutions than others. It's very interesting. So large apartment complexes in cities have their, some of them have their own ED. There's lots and lots of stuff that actually is not streets that are in here.
That's incredible. Okay, let me go back through some of the questions. Now
you got 7 minutes, Murch.
I know, I have only got 7 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we're going to deal with Stephen's mic next time, even if I have to get him to call us in on the phone, because it's really hard to hear. I can't hear him very well either.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, Russ.
One thing that I noticed is when a street name is called West 95th Street, it comes up in the site in the finder as
95th West.
95th West. What you need to do when you click on the map is look at the string of characters that you have put in and may have to retype it. It's a trick that I learned. Everything is there, but put it in. In other words, where you have 101 Homer, Providence, Rhode Island, you may have to retype that based on what's fed from the finder.
Into the map program, It
works like a champ once you figure out that little trick.
Now, just briefly why we did that.
So you're saying right here, right up here in, like, at that point?
Yes, yes.
You might have to retype it because of the phraseology.
That's correct. And
okay, got it.
But it works great, and hopefully you'll say how you called West Bernard Street as opposed to Bernard Street West.
Right. We wanted to keep like streets together, which means that all the numbered streets are put as numbers. Even if it's 5th Avenue, New York, which is usually not spelled, with a numeral, we made it a numeral. And by putting all the compass modifiers at the back, we can put Oak East and Oak West right next to each other on the drop-down list. So it was done on purpose.
Yeah, and I can tell that, and it's great. But I just wanted to bring up that trick that when you use the map, you may have to retype that phrase.
Right. Good point.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning that. I'm hearing about Congressional Medals of Honor and all kinds of things for you two gentlemen from our participants tonight who've really learned a lot. And I
somebody wants to know where the URL is for the website?
Whether I'm what?
What's the ad? The address is at Steve Morse, one word, SteveMorse.org. .com is a professional guitar player. So
Right.
you need to go to stevemorse.org. And that's where, and you go down to the Census folder. There are lots of folders there that Steve has put together.
Right. Excellent.
In the Census folder, you go to the Unified tool.
Okay, I'm going to send the web address to everybody, stevemorse.org. I'm sending this to the entire audience, so you've got the link. You can click on it and crash their website.
Steve?
Listen, today the website was borderline quirky. There were times when we went on it that it said, you know, come back. And we are concerned.
You talked about it Friday night, but I was on it. It seemed to work great, or better than other websites.
Awesome.
It did much better than Nara did today. But then we have much less traffic.
This is true. I should mention, though, I don't know, Steve, if you were able to watch the live official opening that didn't open, but one of the things they did was send kudos to you two for having done this indexing and marshaled your volunteers. This is just an incredible effort. Donna Jones is saying they are directors of a regional center and are excited about what you presented to us, and I really do appreciate this. Now, folks, this is Dear Myrtle telling you, I know we got to, like, take it easy, let archives.com work. I mean, after all, these are only computers. It's going to work out. We went through this before with Familysearch.org. This is not the end of the world. I like what Thomas McKenty said, which is just keep calm and index while you're waiting for other things to load. We're going to meet again tomorrow night. We're meeting Monday through Friday this week. It is at 6 p.m. Pacific U.S. time. It's getting to be late for you and me, Russ, isn't it?
Yep.
We're on the East Coast right now. And one of the things that I'd like to do is to start having you all share what you found. And we'll be probably tomorrow night, Joel has some PowerPoint slides to kind of go into some of the basics again of how to use their website, the Unified 1940 Census ED Finder. We'll have an update to find out how many things were indexed from Family Search Indexing. And I say let's vote for occasionally the big guys work together on a project that brings the cost down, and we do our part by doing the indexing. Awesome. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Also, I always want to make a plug for Genia Webinars, geniawebinars.com, all kinds of almost always free genealogy webinars, sort of like this, although we're kind of a little more informal because we're just learning as we're going here. And so this is Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. This has been the 1940 U.S. Census Images and Indexing Update for Monday, the 2nd of April. Thanks so much to our friends at rootsmagic.com for providing us this space and for recording it. As soon as they make it go live on their archive site, I will put it in the blog post at dearmyrtle.com. Thank you very much, everybody. Happy family tree climbing. That's a wrap.
Thank you.